Every day, we see the darker side of the world around us. We witness how people can hurt others in ways that are hard to understand. It's a sad part of life, but it's something we can't ignore. As someone who dives into the world of crime, I'm here to share the most shocking stories and try to understand what drives people to do such things. I'm Michael, and today, I've got another unreal true crime story for you. It was a quiet afternoon in Purcell, Oklahoma, and everything seemed normal at the small apartment complex. Jamie, a young girl with bright red hair and a cheerful smile, went downstairs to cool off and chat with her neighbor. He seemed a little odd but friendly enough, so when she asked to see his pet rat, he welcomed her inside. From the outside, nothing seemed unusual. The sun was shining and the breezeway was quiet. But what happened behind that closed door would change everything. Hours later, when Jamie didn't come home, her dad started to worry. What no one could imagine was the terrible truth waiting to be uncovered, something that would shake the whole town to its core. Jamie Rose Boland was a spirited young girl born on August 7, 1995, in Edmond, Oklahoma, to her parents, Curtis Lynn Boland and Jennifer Ann Boland. Known for her striking red hair, freckled cheeks, and warm blue eyes, Jamie had a natural charm that endeared her to those around her. While she could be shy at times, her gentle personality and eagerness to make new friends left a lasting impression on everyone she met. Her family described her as sweet and intelligent, with an infectious laugh that could brighten even the gloomiest day. She had a knack for seeing the good in others and rarely had a bad word to say about anyone. A fifth grader at Purcell Intermediate School, Jamie had found a close companion in her best friend, Carissa. They were inseparable, sharing breakfast, playing at recess, and attending Girl Scouts together. Carissa fondly referred to Jamie as her sister. Jamie's favorite pastimes included playing with dolls, sewing, riding her bike, and performing cheerleader dances she choreographed herself. She cherished family moments, especially movie nights and competitive games of checkers with her dad. Jamie's parents separated when she was 2 years old, and her mother, Jennifer, eventually moved to Guthrie, Oklahoma. While pursuing her dream of becoming a truck driver, Jennifer faced challenges with substance use but was determined to rebuild her life for her children. Jamie remained with her father, Curtis, in the small town of Dibble, Oklahoma, before they relocated to Purcell in 2005. They settled into a modest apartment in the Purcell Park complex, unaware of the unsettling events that would later unfold. Downstairs from Jamie's apartment lived Kevin Ray Underwood, a quiet and reclusive man with red hair similar to Jamie's. Kevin had been in the apartment complex for over a year and worked at a local grocery store. Despite his shyness and social anxiety, which often kept him indoors, Kevin appeared unremarkable to most of his neighbors. He spent much of his time writing on his blog and caring for his pet rat, Freya. Kevin's online persona, however, was vastly different. Beneath his reserved exterior was a deeply troubling fascination with dark fantasies. Following a failed online relationship with a woman named Melissa, Kevin spiraled further into isolation, using the internet to explore increasingly disturbing content. His blog entries hinted at his unsettling thoughts, joking about cannibalism and confessing to dangerous fantasies. Despite these alarming signs in his private writings, those around him saw him as a quiet, albeit withdrawn, individual. Some of Kevin's neighbors had begun to notice peculiar behavior that made them uneasy. Tim Byer, the manager of the apartment complex, mentioned seeing Kevin stand outside and watch the neighborhood children play. At work, Kevin's co-workers had nicknamed him Zombie Kevin due to his unnerving comments. One co-worker, Michael Horner, recounted how Kevin once pointed out a customer and asked, "I wonder what she would taste like." The remark left Michael deeply unsettled, and he admitted to worrying that Kevin might harm someone someday. Despite his troubling behavior, Kevin maintained a connection with Melissa Custer, his longtime online friend. Their conversations were usually normal, but at times, his dark thoughts crept in. In December 2005, he joked about picking up milk, eggs, bread, and human souls during a shopping trip. By early 2006, his comments grew increasingly disturbing. In January, he told Melissa he might kill someone if he didn't find a partner soon. By February, his messages hinted at twisted obsessions, including his fascination with gore and violent imagery. While most people saw Kevin as shy and withdrawn, he went out of his way to befriend Jamie, his young neighbor. Jamie, trusting and curious, occasionally interacted with Kevin, even petting his pet rat, Freya, in the breezeway of their apartment complex. Over time, she grew comfortable around him and had even been inside his apartment a few times, despite her father's rule forbidding her from entering other people's homes. On April 11, 2006, Jamie's father, Curtis, asked her to use the payphone outside their apartment complex to order pizza. Kevin offered his phone instead, and Jamie followed him inside briefly, but insisted on taking the cordless handset outside to make the call, worried about getting in trouble with her dad. The exchange seemed harmless, and Jamie likely thought her dad was simply being overly cautious with his rules. The next day, Jamie dressed in a pink shirt and headed to school as usual. She was excited about visiting her mom, Jennifer, for Easter in just a few days. At school, her best friend Carissa said Jamie seemed happy during their chat in sixth period. After school, Jamie visited the library and spent time with a friend before realizing she had left her keys behind. She biked back to school to retrieve them and returned home, sweaty from the warm weather. She changed into a blue short-sleeved shirt and went back down to the breezeway. After that, Jamie and her bicycle vanished. Curtis grew increasingly anxious when he couldn't find his daughter. He knocked on neighbors' doors and enlisted the help of Tim, the apartment manager, to search for her. When they knocked on Kevin's door around 6 p.m., it took him a long time to answer. He appeared disheveled, buttoning his shirt as he opened the door. Kevin claimed he had seen Jamie earlier but didn't know where she went. He stayed outside for a while, reassuring Curtis that he'd keep an eye out for Jamie. By 8 p.m., Kevin told Curtis he was tired and needed to prepare for work the next morning. With no sign of Jamie anywhere, Curtis called the police to report her missing. Although there was no evidence of an abduction, authorities initially suspected Jamie might have run away or was hiding nearby. Police, firefighters, and volunteers began searching for her, while Curtis called his relatives for support. His brother Mark and sister-in-law Linda came to assist and stayed with Curtis as they awaited updates. The family gathered in the breezeway outside Kevin's apartment, unaware of the chilling truth just beyond his door. Kevin occasionally stopped by to check in, expressing concern for Jamie's safety. Meanwhile, Curtis contacted Jennifer, who was driving a truck in Arizona when she received the news. Distraught, Jennifer described feeling as though she had stepped outside herself. She immediately rushed to Purcell, her plans for a joyful Easter with Jamie now shattered. As the hours turned into days, the search for Jamie intensified. Authorities issued an Amber Alert on Thursday night, and the FBI joined the investigation. One of their early theories was that Jamie might have met someone online who convinced her to meet in person. However, the truth was far more horrifying than anyone could have imagined. By Friday, Investigators were still struggling to uncover any leads in Jamie's disappearance. Her bike was nowhere to be found, leaving authorities with little to go on. Following their child abduction response protocols, the FBI set up roadblocks near the apartment complex at the time they believed Jamie had gone missing. Their hope was that drivers taking the same routes home daily might recall seeing something unusual. At one of these roadblocks, an FBI agent stopped a truck driven by Kevin Underwood's father, who mentioned that Kevin was Jamie's neighbor. The FBI agent asked if Kevin could answer a few questions, and Kevin agreed to talk in the patrol car. During the conversation, Kevin claimed he had seen Jamie riding her bike on the day she went missing, but he corrected the Amber Alert, stating she had been wearing a blue shirt, not a pink one. This detail meant Kevin might have been one of the last people to see her. Although Kevin insisted he couldn't have been involved, stating, "I could never hurt her. She reminds me of my sister." The agent felt something was amiss. Kevin agreed to go to the police station to give a more detailed statement. Afterward, the agent drove Kevin home and asked if agents could take a look around his apartment. Attempting to appear cooperative, Kevin agreed. Inside Kevin's apartment, agents noticed what appeared to be blood in the bathtub. Their attention was drawn to a large, duct-taped plastic container in Kevin's bedroom closet. When questioned about it, Kevin claimed it was full of comic books, and the tape was to protect them from moisture. When the police peeled back a corner of the tape, he spotted a blue shirt, matching what Jamie was last seen wearing. Kevin blurted, "Go ahead and arrest me." When the police asked where Jamie was, Kevin confessed, "She's in there. I hit her and I chopped her up." Agents found Jamie's remains inside the container. They arrested Kevin and secured a search warrant to gather further evidence. Under Kevin's bed, they discovered parts of Jamie's bike, and in his closet, they found the rest in a duffel bag. The closet also contained disturbing items: a Barbie doll head with nails driven through its eyes, a hacksaw, duct tape, knives, and a bag of adult-themed items. Investigators also found meat tenderizer, barbecue skewers, and a cutting board, as well as a DVD set about serial killers and a mug they believed Jamie had brought with her. Kevin's computer was seized for further investigation. After his arrest, Kevin waived his Miranda rights and gave a chilling confession. He admitted he had been planning an abduction for months, fueled by his obsession with cannibalistic fantasies. His fixation had intensified after resuming Lexapro, a medication for depression. Kevin confessed he wanted to know what human flesh tasted like, and his fantasies became so consuming that he downloaded graphic crime scene photos for stimulation. Kevin detailed his plan to kidnap a child, force them to watch an adult movie, and then commit unspeakable acts before murdering and consuming them. He admitted he had chosen a child because they would be easier to overpower. While he had considered other targets, including an adult woman and a young boy, he ultimately fixated on Jamie. He claimed he liked her and initially hesitated because she was kind and familiar to him. However, his darker impulses eventually overpowered his restraint. On April 12th, Kevin had spent most of the day with his family before returning to his apartment. He believed he had missed his chance when Jamie didn't arrive home on time. But when she returned after retrieving her keys, Kevin saw an opportunity. They exchanged a few words about the weather, and shortly afterward, his horrifying plan was set into motion. As they talked, Kevin noticed that Jamie hadn't locked up her bike, and a dark idea began to form in his mind. If he hid the bike, it might look as though she had been taken by a stranger while riding. After a few minutes, Jamie asked to go inside Kevin's apartment to see his pet rat. She sat on the floor near the rat's cage, and together they watched TV. For about 15 minutes, Kevin debated whether to act on the horrific plan he had been harboring. He decided it would be easier to knock her unconscious first. He picked up a heavy wooden cutting board but hesitated repeatedly, putting it down and picking it back up. Finally, he struck her. The blow didn't render Jamie unconscious as Kevin had imagined. As Jamie screamed and begged him to let her go, Kevin struck her several more times, but she continued to fight back. Eventually, he grabbed her from behind, covering her mouth and nose until she went limp. He later said he thought she had died, but when she began breathing again, he repeated the attack until she stopped moving. To ensure she was dead, Kevin taped her mouth and nose shut. He then dragged her body into his bedroom to hide her from view while he retrieved her bike, which he concealed in his walk-in closet. Back inside, Kevin assaulted Jamie's lifeless body but found it difficult to carry out the acts he had fantasized about. Frustrated, he decided to drain her blood, dragging her into the bathroom and attempting to cut her neck with a decorative dagger. The blood didn't flow as he had expected, and the reality of the situation disgusted him. He abandoned his initial plan to drink or collect the blood, washing it down the drain instead. Kevin paused to message his online friend Melissa, telling her about his better mood. Meanwhile, Curtis returned home from work to find Jamie missing. As Curtis searched the complex and surrounding area, Kevin kept a watchful eye, lighting incense in his apartment to mask the smell of blood and vomit. When Curtis and the apartment manager, Tim, knocked on his door, Kevin acted cooperative and even helped look for Jamie outside, all while her body remained hidden in his closet. After several attempts to clean and move Jamie's body, Kevin wrapped her in a tarp and placed her in a large plastic container, sealing it with duct tape. He also disassembled her bike, hiding the parts in a duffel bag under his bed. Despite his meticulous cleaning efforts, he couldn't eliminate all the evidence. The following day, Kevin agreed to let the FBI search his apartment, confident they wouldn't find anything incriminating. During the search, agents uncovered Jamie's remains, her bike, and numerous disturbing items, including duct tape, knives, and adult paraphernalia. Kevin was charged with first-degree murder and held without bond. Due to extensive media coverage, his trial was moved to Cleveland County in hopes of finding impartial jurors. The prosecutor, who had decades of experience, described the case as the most heinous and premeditated crime he had ever encountered. He vowed to seek the death penalty for Kevin, determined to bring justice for Jamie and her family. Initially, the district attorney considered offering a plea deal, but ultimately decided that the nature of Kevin's crime warranted the death penalty. The jury trial began on February 19, 2008. A forensic pathologist presented the autopsy findings at trial, confirming Jamie Boland's cause of death as asphyxiation and blunt force trauma to the head. She detailed the extensive injuries Jamie suffered, including bruising on her head consistent with Kevin's account of the blows, petechiae in her eyes from suffocation, curved marks on her face from a hand clamping her mouth and nose, and deep saw marks on her neck from Kevin's failed attempt at decapitation. Additionally, the report indicated evidence of trauma to her private areas, though it was unclear whether she was still alive during the assault. This evidence alone was damning, but the prosecution also had a nearly 2-hour videotaped confession. In the recording, Kevin described his actions and plans in chilling, matter-of-fact detail. Kevin admitted to spending over a decade desensitizing himself to increasingly violent adult content online. He chillingly detailed his intentions to decapitate his victim while they were still alive, drain their blood, keep the corpse for several days, and ultimately butcher and consume the body. He spoke of purchasing items such as a hacksaw, a tarp, barbecue skewers, and meat tenderizer to carry out his plans. He even revealed practicing his methods on a Barbie doll head. Despite admitting to knowing his actions were wrong, Kevin showed no true remorse, at one point blaming Jamie for her trustfulness. The defense presented no witnesses, acknowledging the overwhelming evidence against Kevin. Their argument focused solely on sparing him the death penalty, citing his mental illness and autism spectrum disorder as mitigating factors. However, after hearing Kevin's confession and the graphic evidence, the jury took just 23 minutes to convict him of first-degree murder on February 28, 2008. On March 7th, the jury sentenced Kevin to death by lethal injection. He showed no visible emotion as the sentence was read. Jamie's family, though relieved by the verdict, braced for the lengthy appeals process typical in death penalty cases. In 2016, Kevin appealed his death sentence, citing a new diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder alongside other mental health conditions. The appeal was denied, with the judge emphasizing the heinous and premeditated nature of Jamie's murder. Kevin remained on death row for years, as Oklahoma's execution process faced scrutiny and delays. In 2014, a botched execution of another inmate, Clayton Lockett, led to widespread criticism. Lockett, convicted of burying a woman alive, was administered an untested drug combination that failed to render him unconscious. He writhed in pain, tried to sit up, and had to be restrained. The chaos ended only after Lockett died of a heart attack 43 minutes later, leading to a temporary halt in executions in the state. In 2015, Oklahoma faced another botched execution, this time involving Charles Warner, who had been convicted of assaulting and murdering an 11-month-old child. During the execution, the wrong drug was used. Warner's final words, "My body is on fire," highlighted the horror of the event. An autopsy later confirmed the error, leading Oklahoma to impose a 6-year moratorium on executions. The moratorium was lifted in 2021, under political pressure to resume capital punishment. Since then, the state has executed 13 people, but maintaining the rapid pace has been challenging. Kevin Underwood was scheduled for execution on December 7, 2023. However, prison staff requested to extend the interval between executions from 60 to 90 days, citing the need to prevent another botched procedure. For Jamie Boland's family, the pain of her loss is immeasurable. When Curtis Boland learned of his daughter's death, he collapsed in grief and was taken to the hospital for sedation. Her family struggled to come to terms with the horrifying realization that Jamie had been inside Kevin's apartment while they searched just feet away. The community of Purcell mourned alongside Jamie's family. Residents left flowers, balloons, and cards at the apartment complex. Her classmates tied white ribbons to trees near the school in her memory. Jamie's funeral was held on April 20, 2006, at the Purcell High School Gymnasium, one of the few venues large enough to hold the crowd of over 1,000 attendees. A slideshow of Jamie's life played, accompanied by her favorite song, "Jesus, Take the Wheel." After the public service, a private burial was held at Summit View Cemetery in Guthrie. For Curtis, staying in Purcell became impossible. He moved to Guthrie and found strength in the belief that Jamie would want him to keep living. Jamie's mother, Jennifer, struggled deeply with her daughter's loss. Once proud of her dream to become a truck driver, she blamed herself for not being home with Jamie. After remaining sober for a year, Jennifer relapsed following Jamie's death and faced years of addiction. Over time, Jennifer found solace in writing to Jamie on her memorial page. In February 2014, she wrote, "To my sweet Jamie, I miss you so much. I imagine what you'd be like now, a gorgeous, loving young lady." Her last message came shortly before her passing on October 11, 2023. Jennifer was laid to rest at Summit View Cemetery beside her daughter, finally reunited in eternal peace. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations.